Hello and welcome. Today we've got a little bit of a discussion video regarding the delisting of Liam Stocker. Happened a few days ago. I've allowed the dust to settle just a little bit. We also have re-signed some players since that point, which we will brush over. Anyway, Liam Stocker. The question today is, was it the right decision? And a lot of Carlton supporters would say it was not the right decision. And here's the reasons why. I'm more favouring that side, that party. The reasons for that would have to be the following reasons. I see him as 22 years old. I see him as, a guy that has a lot of room to develop and grow. And he's already got a few assets of his game that are admirable. And I think they would translate well over to the AFL. Has had a few problems though. But yeah, if we talk about what he's good at, his aggression is exceptional. He contributes to depth with regards to the list, and that's heavily important when you're trying to build a team that can compete with the best. I think that, young player, a lot of room to grow as well, and that's probably the main reasons why you keep him. The reasons why you get rid, and I can back the reasons why you would. The first reason is injuries and a lack of continuity. He's played 28 games over 4 seasons, and obviously if you can't get out on the park, you're potentially compromising someone else from getting that game time. Someone from potentially the VFL or the lower leagues, or a younger player from getting onto an AFL list in favour of this guy that only plays 7 games a season for 4 seasons. Also, I think sometimes it's very easy for him to get a bit lost. I think the capabilities he had as a junior hasn't really translated over to the AFL, and a lot of people would be saying that as well. Here's the issue though. I do see the fact that he can't play midfield, but that's where he thrived as a junior, and I think that really puts him in a tough spot, because the guy can't really kick. I mean, he's had some absolute blunders trying to kick the football in the AFL system. He has been bagged for his athletic ability and stamina and stuff like that. He's a bit slow, and especially if you're going to be a lockdown defender, which is what he's been playing as, you've got to be rapid, and I feel like sometimes you can get a little bit exposed with that. But overall, I think this is a move that Carlton will lose more than they will win. Because I think whoever picks this guy up, mind you, someone will do it. Essendon have been in talks with him recently. Whoever's in talks with him, I think that you're finding a player that you can, rely on to flourish in the next couple of seasons. I mean, we've seen players that have been able to, develop and prosper. It's taken them a long while to do it, but they've been able to flourish into this, a really reliable role player. And I don't think Liam Stocker is going to be a game breaker, but I think he will be a guy that will have a pretty good impact on a team that needs him to perform. I think if we look at the other players Carlton have re-signed recently, Matty Cottrell, Matt Owies, Josh Honey, Sam Durden, we look at who they've gotten rid of: Noons, McDonald, Parks, and a couple others. But here's the thing. With this Liam Stocker delisting, I look at players like Lockie O'Brien in past seasons. I mean, you could even look at him this season. They haven't displayed the best footballing ability. Cottrell, he's been inconsistent, but his best is pretty good. Same with Lockie O'Brien. We don't see it enough, but he is good when he's switched on. I could say the same about Liam Stocker. And mind you, injury problems are a thing. But he still has shown ability on the AFL field. I can basically say, even if this was his down year, which it probably was, you look at Lockie O'Brien's down year last season, and then you say, well, I think Liam Stocker's year this year was better than Lockie's last season. And Lockie got a rookie deal, a 1-year rookie deal. And Stock hasn't even been... He's basically been neglected and hasn't been worried about to be put on the rookie list. I think there's a couple other reasons why you could say that he hasn't been put on the list. You could say that it doesn't align with timeline. You can't really have players that, you need a really strong squad if you're going to win a premiership. And with Stocker, if he's a little bit not up to scratch and he can't get out onto the park because of injuries, whether they're luck-based or I guess you could say unlucky-based, you've got to, be one of those players that can just come in straight away and you're not taking up any space. Jordan Boyd also re-signed, and he's a very similar player to Stocker, and I found that really interesting because Jordan Boyd obviously went out for about 6-7 weeks, had a good run of form, but it was only about a month, and that was apparently enough to be able to put him on a list and keep Stocker off. I'm not bagging Boyd, but I don't think Boyd has any better of a track record than Stocker. I'm very worried. Will Setterfield is one of those players that potentially could get snagged by a rival club. And I really worry that we haven't managed him correctly similarly to Stocker. And we could be missing out on a really good player who could go to a rival team and really thrive. We look at Cunningham and Marchbank, who are potentially going to re-sign as well. They're really interesting cases because they've also been injury prone as hell. David Cunningham he's a forgotten Carlton player at this point, and he probably will be rookie listed. But you look at that comparison, I think all we're doing here is comparing and just wondering, how has this guy not gotten on a list? He's far from the worst. And I think he's really stiff for a team that basically is built on being aggressive, or I think that's Michael Voss's mantra. You would expect a player like Stocker to be held onto, but it didn't happen that way. Cunningham and Marchbank, as I said, they can't get out on the park for their life, and they probably, while Marchbank didn't display his best football, but he did have a couple good games in there, and that was probably enough to save him at the end of the day. But yeah, this one's just a really mysterious move. I look at the player age bracket for Carlton players, and especially in our best 22, and you see a lot of them in that 22 to 26-year-old age bracket, and you say, well, Liam Stocker's entering that right now, and it doesn't really make sense. As I said, though, he's never had the opportunity to prove himself in a position that he was in when he was a junior. Then again, as I said, the skills haven't really translated over, and it could be a little bit of a disaster if you try to put him in the midfield. He'd probably get smoked. Could he be something like a tagger? Potentially. I don't think he's favoured in terms of physical stature, but he likes to rough people up. So I think he would have, still had a place on the Carlton team, and if not, he would probably be working his way through the reserve season. But as I said, I'm devastated. A lot of Carlton fans are devastated. We love what he brings, and I think we'll be great followers of him wherever his career turns or directs itself. But yeah, it's a really mysterious one for me. I'm just thinking of the potential that this guy has. He's only played 28 games in 4 seasons, and as I said, that's usually a red flag. But I do think that still 22, you got so much football ahead of you, and you never know when things are going to turn. We're still waiting for Paddy Dow to make that switch as well, and I am very fearful that he could potentially be on the block, the trade block. That's another thing that I should mention. Liam Stocker, I don't know why we didn't hold him for the trade period. Keep everything internal, and then if it leaked that he was going to head out and he was out of favour at Carlton, then put him up on the trade market. We had to trade considerably to bring him in. Notorious trade with Adelaide. Both teams have probably not been any better by virtue of that trade, but regardless, we still had to give up stuff for him, and to just get rid of him for no cost, and any team can just pick him up via personal terms and agreements. It sucks, given, as I said, the potential that could be there that hasn't been tapped into yet. So, as I said, it is what it is. List changes are happening left, right, and center. Some people would say that the moves right now, the re-signings, don't make sense or are unjustified given we didn't get Stocker in. But I think The signings, as far as I'm concerned, have been smart ones. We've kept small forwards, we've kept key back stocks, we've kept in wingers, all positions that we probably are at our weakest. Obviously, the back line was affected this year and could potentially be next year. You never know. The wingers are notably our most weakest position on the ground, and the small forwards, well, they're hit or miss, but you know, you're always bound to chop and change every single week with those guys between Motlop, Durden, Owies. You never know what you're going to get at any given week. So, yeah, share your thoughts in the comments. I'm really intrigued to hear your thoughts on this one. A lot of discussion has been raised who's going to pick him up. I do think he would really benefit going to a bottom place side or a lower place side that can give him ample opportunity to perform. He was just victim to the fact that he couldn't break into the team at, you know, a position he was probably most comfortable in. And I do really think that a top or bottom six side will really enable his footballing ability to be extracted and brought out. Potentially a Hawthorn, an Adelaide, I don't know, a North Melbourne would love him. Essendon for depth. Yeah, but I do think he's got a footballing future somewhere, and I think whoever picks him up, the fan base will love him for what he brings and the aggression he brings. And ultimately, I think that's what Carlton are going to miss out on. Even though he didn't play every single week, I do think when he played a game of football, he brought something unique to the table that a lot of other Carlton players didn't bring, especially on the weeks when we were lacking that aggression and physicality. So we'll see how the rest of the Carlton re-signing / delisting window pans out. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Setterfield, Marchbank, and Cunningham. Even Ed Kerno's potentially going to be re-signed for another year, and I think that's a great move. Some people would say, why the hell, he's washed. I do think he's great for experience, and he could potentially come back into the side if we need him at any point next season, given our midfield stocks took a bit of a hit this season. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.